Say someone is yelling at you and you're practicing Shringara. You start seeing the beauty of how much they care, that they're putting that amount of energy to talk to you, to bring some light into you. Shringara is the beauty of how you see everything around you. Hasya. Hasya is joy, laughter. Adbhuta is coming from a place of wonder, curiosity. How does this even work? When Shiva goes into his Raudra, he's not angry. He's actually ferocious. Any being shows up as Raudra, and what Raudra shows is determination. Karuna is the way a mother shows compassion to her child. When we approach them in Karuna, we will receive Karuna in return. Adbhuta is a beautiful emotion, a spiritual emotion to have when you want to learn something. Veera is the emotion of victory. Bhayanaka. Bhayanaka is being terrorizing someone. Sitting in a warm blanket of ignorance. It's very comfortable in the warm blanket of ignorance. Bibhatsa. Bibhatsa is disgust. You should be disgusted about your life as to how shit it is so you can move on into something more beautiful. Shantarasa is peace, tranquility. Like this, where we are is very shanta and it's tranquil. Siddhas are mostly in Veera because on the inside they are shanta. And this is what we teach. So the first siddhi to achieve here is Sharira Siddhi. The second siddhi to achieve is the siddhi of communication. The Vag Siddhi is what you need to master communication. That's the second Siddhi. The third one is Bhavishya Siddhi, which is what this podcast is about. This podcast is about Bhavishya Siddhi, who are Siddhas. Our timeline is so much that we can become immortal. I remember from my previous lifetimes, I got bored. So if you want to have an amazing life, put yourself in a timeline and drag it as far as you want to live an amazing life. Joining a program, Healing Warrior Tribe. And this is what we teach. We teach ancient warrior arts where we turn a body into a healing body.
In the beginning, you briefly mentioned the 9 emotions. Can you elaborate on this?
The 9 emotions. The 9 spiritual emotions, the Navarasas. The Navarasas came from the Natya Shastra. It's an ancient book, an ancient text. And it's all the expressions and emotions a being should understand and master. If this part excites you, look at yourself in the mirror and practice these expressions, because that's the way that you can cultivate these emotions, these spiritual emotions. And they're all very important. Shringara. Shringara is beauty. You see everything in beauty with the eyes of beauty. Even when someone is yelling at you and you are able to practice Shringara, which is tough. Say someone is yelling at you and you're practicing Shringara. You start seeing the beauty of how much they care, that they're putting that amount of energy to talk to you, to bring some light into you. Right? What is the other person doing? When the other person is yelling at you, they're using Bhayanaka, which is they're scaring you to bring that Bhayanaka in you so that you wake up from that illusion that you're in to connect to what they're trying to say. Shringara is the beauty of how you see everything around you. It not necessarily needs to be from someone that is being nice and polite, and whether it's the physical beauty or the natural beauty that's around you, you can see beauty even in the dark, the night sky. When you look up into the night sky and you see the stars scattered around like raindrops, like fairy light across the sky, that is Shringara, because you're adapting to the beauty of what you're seeing. Same way with every sense, you're adapting into Shringara. Shringara. Hasya. Hasya is joy, laughter. When someone says that, hey, you don't know how to ride a bicycle, instead of saying, oh, I don't know how to ride a bicycle and dropping into a lower emotion, you can go, I don't know how to ride a bicycle, but you know what? I'm going to learn anyways, because what's the worst that's going to happen? A fall a few times, have a few bruises, but in the end of it, I'm going to ride the bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. The bicycle song. Adbhuta. Adbhuta is a beautiful emotion, a spiritual emotion to have when you want to learn something. Just as how you applied hasya, you went, oh, I don't know how to ride a bicycle, but I'm going to learn anyways. Adbhuta is wow, there is this thing called riding a bicycle. All I have to do is jump on it, find my balance, and see if I can keep balancing and pedal my way through. And you're coming from a place of wonder, not from a place of fear. You're not thinking, oh, what would happen if I fall down? That is not Adbhuta. Adbhuta is coming from a place of wonder, curiosity. How does this even work? So one pedal goes down, one pedal goes up. And there is a handlebar that I have to keep straight. And there are brakes that I can use to brake if I feel that I'm going too fast already. And that is Adbhuta. So when you're learning from anyone or anything in life and you come from a place of Adbhuta, you naturally feel connected to what you're learning. So that astronaut example I was giving earlier, if you are going from a place of Adbhuta since you were a child looking into space and looking at all the spaceships and rockets that's flown across the galaxy, you'd be in Adbhuta of, wow, I'm so curious what it feels like to be outside this planet and see the planet from outside. And that one emotion will take you all the way out of space. And one day you'll turn back and look at yourself in Earth saying that when I was 5 years old, I had this dream, and now I'm 45 years old and I have achieved this dream. And that's the magic of this rasa. The next one is Raudra. You know, when Shiva goes into his Raudra, he's not angry. He's actually ferocious. The ferocity of a man, the ferocity of a human being, the ferocity of any being shows up as Raudra, and what Raudra shows is determination. They're so determined in wanting to accomplish what they set out to, there is no room for failure. They will find their way regardless. It's in the Raudra of that. That's the emotion of Raudra. Karuna. Karuna is the way a mother shows compassion to her child. With so much grace and so much love and so much care, even when this child has not allowed her to sleep all night, and it shits on her and does not allow her to rest at all. Still, the mother has so much grace and karuna towards a child. When we approach our people, the human beings in our communities, when we approach them with karuna, that's what's lacking in our society today. When we approach them in karuna, we will receive karuna in return. Grace happens when you practice karuna. Veera. Veera is the emotion of victory. When you jump out of bed in the morning, you should be jumping out of bed in the morning. You should be coming out in Veera, like a hero. When you jump out of your bed as a hero, your entire timeline for the day is sorted because you're looking at everything from that hero's perspective. The journey is clear. You start planning. You start planning your day, you start planning your week, you start planning your month, you start planning your year, you start planning a decade, and so on and so forth. That is a Veera's way. They're able to strategize and see how far something can come and forecast in a way that they can see even before danger comes close to them. And this is what we had. We had kings ruling countries, ruling this world, and they were all Veeras. The spiritual emotion of Veera is what the kings had. And you don't need to be a king to have this emotion. A Veera forecasts obstacles. When you are able to forecast your obstacles, you take all the obstacles away, which means your pathway becomes clearer, your timeline becomes clearer. And this is a Siddha way. If you want to get a PhD, like Neringa here is a PhD student, and she has a lot of obstacles along the way. She has had a lot of obstacles along the way with her location, time, place, people, so on and so forth. Research material, technology, internet, all of these are obstacles. When you take all of these obstacles out, suddenly, when you practice Veera, you'll naturally take all these obstacles off. If you're not practicing Veera and you look at all these obstacles, that PhD is a never-ending goal. It's too far away for you to achieve. And what do? We jump into anxiety, depression, and distraction. That's what happens. Neringa here has traveled around the world learning from different universities. And she's been removing all these obstacles so that she can see this clear timeline of how to achieve this PhD in the coming year. And that is the attribute of a Veera. That is a quality of a Siddha Yogi. Bhayanaka! Bhayanaka is being terrorizing someone. You know why you use the spiritual emotion? The only people who can use this emotion are your teacher, your spiritual guru. Because it's an emotion that the teacher uses to wake you up from your animosity of being in the lowest of low, being in this ditch of depression. You wake up because you're scared. Oh my God, what happened? Why is he yelling at me? Why is she screaming at me? You wake up. And then when you wake up, he or she holds you with karuna and says, you've been woken up this way so that you can learn how to achieve this, how to show up to your life, how to show up for yourself, how to accomplish something in your life. Instead of being that person who's sitting in a warm blanket of ignorance. It's very comfortable in the warm blanket of ignorance. It's warm, it's comfy, it's cozy. Dopamine, unsustainable dopamine. And you can eat your chocolate and chips inside the blanket and watch Netflix in your little iPad so that people don't notice that. You notice that. You know you're there. So if you are that person, jump out of it. Find a coach, find a mentor, find a teacher, find a guru so they can bring you out of that darkness. Guru, remover of darkness. They can remove that darkness of your life. Bibhatsa. Bibhatsa is disgust. Chi, terrible. Yeah. You should be disgusted about your life as to how shit it is so you can move on into something more beautiful. Saundarya Lahari. You need to move into something beautiful that's flowing. That's where you use Bibhatsa. You can use it on yourself, and the other person that can use this on you is your teacher again, or someone who's mentoring you, someone who's your guide, your parents. What is this mess you've done, child? Why is this mess? It's disgusting. They're making you aware of that action is disgusting, so you refrain from doing that. And it's a way of coaching. It's not a bad emotion, it's a spiritual emotion. Shanta rasa. Shanta rasa is peace, tranquility. Like this, where we are is very shanta and it's tranquil. And Shanta Rasa is great for the common person who is always wanting to be in a chill zone, blissed out. But the Siddhas don't really use much of a Shanta Rasa. Siddhas are only in Shanta Rasa when they are asleep or in dhyana. Siddhas are mostly in Vira. They are always seeing what's ahead of them and what's coming, and they are fortifying their way. Not just for themselves, they're fortifying. These yogis are magical beings that's walking the planets, that's fortifying the way for the entire planet. By fortifying the way for the entire planet, they're fortifying the way for the entire cosmos. They're magical beings. They're intergalactic beings. Nobody knows there is one amongst them because on the inside, they are Shanta. Because they have mastered these rasas. When you master these rasas, you know how to operate the external world, while the internal world is shant and calm. These are the 9 rasas, Niringa, 9 spiritual emotions that a yogi needs to have. And you don't need to even be a yogi. Just by understanding this, you'll understand, wow, these are actually powerful emotions that I can practice. And if you want to learn, please come and learn from us. And this is what we teach. We teach 3 siddhis. Sharira siddhi is first. The siddhi of the power of the body. You need to have the power of a strong body to have a strong timeline. You can't have a weak body and create a strong timeline. So the first siddhi to achieve here is Sharira siddhi. The second siddhi to achieve is the siddhi of communication, the power of communication. If I didn't know how to communicate, I wouldn't be able to share this knowledge with you. I have a stuttering problem. When I was a child, when I was a kid, when I was about 7 years old, I got electrocuted because I tried to clean the plug point with my 2 little fingers, thinking there's a bit of dirt in there. And there was water on the floor, and used water to wash it with soap and water, and it electrocuted me and threw me out into the other side of the room. I hit my head, the back of my head on the opposite wall, fell down and went unconscious. Nobody knew. My parents were busy cleaning the other sides of the house, and my job was to clean that particular room where I happily I was experimenting, trying to be an astronaut the fast way. When I woke up, I had this stammer. And why I'm able to make this communication is because I have mastered the siddhi of Vag Devi. Vag siddhi is what you need to master communication. That's the second Siddhi. And anyone can achieve that just by learning how to communicate. There is a course called Understanding Communication that's on YouTube channel, on both Guru Pashupati and Healing Warrior Tribe channel. Watch that. It's only 50 minutes or something. Neringa here has edited into a 50. It's a 2.5 hour lesson, which she's carefully edited to a 57-minute video. And you will understand what Vag Siddhi is all about. There's so much more to learn. We're developing a course while we're talking about this. And when you learn Vag Siddhi, the power of communication, you become the greatest problem solver of your life. Because every problem in this world is because of communication, whether it's health problem, financial problem, relationship problem, family problem, ancestral problem. It's all because of your communication, the gap in the communication. It's a knowledge-based thing. And when you have that knowledge, it becomes a skill-based thing. Once you learn the communication course, you will have solved this problem of knowing and understanding Vag Siddhi. The third one is Bhavishya Siddhi, which is what this podcast is about. This podcast is about Bhavishya Siddhi, the Siddhi of timeline. How you can create a timeline of amazing health and a timeline of a lifetime. So people like ourselves who are Siddhas, our timeline is so much that we can become immortal. But at some point, we get bored of the things that we do in this planet. I remember from my previous lifetimes, I got bored. I went into a Agni Samadhi. I got bored because there was no problems for me to solve in the time that I was alive in the previous times. I said, okay, I'm done. So I went into Agni Samadhi. This is not instant. It's like nobody's coming and lighting the fire for you. You sit in dhyana and one of the 5 elements is Agni. So I chose Agni Samadhi. There's Jala Samadhi, there's Jiva Samadhi, there's Vayu Samadhi. There's all these different Samadhis. Your body turns into light. So if you want to have an amazing life, put yourself in a timeline and drag it as far as you want to live an amazing life. You didn't come here to live a mediocre life. You came here to live an elite life. So have that elite life. Death is only for people who don't have any purpose. You need a purpose in life. And that's the purpose is what drives your timeline. Your health is based on that purpose. Your vitality is based on the purpose. The reference of all these rasas and siddhis is to help you achieve that.
Acharya Ji, you shared about the 9 emotions and all the siddhis that we should have to achieve our goals. It can all sound a bit complex to implement in the daily life for someone who's just starting out. So in simple terms, how would someone implement it?
Thank you, Erika. Thank you. It's a good question. So thank you for bringing that for our audience because, yes, it is a complex subject and we're trying to help to break it down so that it's easy for the common person to understand and practice. So the first thing to remember is there are 3 siddhis. There are 3 powers. The first power is the power of the body. You need to have a strong body and build a strong body. For that, you need a practice. You need a proper, sustainable practice that heals the body from inside, not just going to the gym and doing some random exercise. You need someone who can coach you and train you and build that body, an energy body. You need an energy body. How do you do that? You can get that by joining a program, Healing Warrior Tribe. And this is what we teach. We teach ancient warrior arts where we turn a body into a healing body. When that body is healed, it turns into a healing warrior body. And the healing warrior body naturally will start having the power of communication because they will learn about how to communicate around with their communities. So the second siddhi is the power of communication. You need to learn this. It's knowledge that hasn't been given to us in school. We were never taught how to communicate the way we're supposed to communicate to our partners, to our parents, to our workspace colleagues. Forget about all that. We're not taught to even talk to ourselves. We don't even know how to communicate to ourselves. The first step of communication is knowing how to communicate with ourselves. Treat our own self with great respect, right? The third siddhi is Bhavishya Siddhi. Bhavishya Siddhi is the siddhi of timeline, the power of what happens when you have a timeline. When you have a clear timeline, your health becomes optimal. Your career becomes optimal. Your relationships become optimal. Your financial status becomes optimal because if you decide that you want to be a millionaire in this time, it becomes optimal. Here I was talking to one of the camera man. He's a cinematographer here. He wants to be one of the best cinematographers in South India. So I told him, like, if you put yourself in a timeline of 2026 and you start training your body, every morning. He lives close to the beach. So go for a swim every morning, do Surya Namaskar looking at the sun, learn from us, do some sadhanas. He's got the sharira to achieve that dream. And then then he needs to go and learn communication. When you practice your communication skills and you learn about communication, then you have the communication to be able to communicate to the right people what your desire is. And then when you wake up every morning and you create a timeline for every day, say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to meet so and so, and 20% of that needs to be allotted for your learning every day. 20% of your day should be clearly allotted for your learning, nothing else. Learning to achieve that goal of the timeline. And when you do that, every day turns into a week, every week turns into a month, every month turns into a year. And then eventually, before you even know, you achieved your goal in success, which will create a larger goal. And that's how it works. It's a one-stop solution to solve all problems when you understand the knowledge of Bhavishya Siddhi, Vag Siddhi, and Sharira Siddhi, the three powers. The Navarasas that we spoke earlier, Niringa, the 9 spiritual emotions, are all templates of how to make these 3 Siddhis happen. That's all they are. They come into integration into this timeline as to how to make all these Siddhis happen and where all they fit in. And how to manage, where to use Bhayanaka, where to use Veera. You need to jump out of your bed as Veera, like I'm the hero for the day. And that's how you're going to achieve that. That's how he's going to become the best cinematographer of South India. That's how you're going to become anything that you want to become, by having that Veera attitude.
Sometimes people set ambitious goals, put them on the timeline, work hard, and achieve them, only to realize that that goal is actually harmful for them. How to prevent this from happening?
That's a fabulous question. It's a perfect question for the right time at the right place in this world. When you have a failure, don't be scared. You need to show up in Adbhuta. Adbhuta is wonder. Wow, it's learning. I failed miserably in this relationship. The person who was my shining armor, he showed up so beautiful and strong, and I wanted to be with him, and we got married, and 6 months down the track, the marriage is not working well, and they broke their marriage. They're sleeping in 2 separate rooms or 2 separate houses. They're going through a divorce case or whatever they're going through, court case, etc. It's torturous. This is a common problem. When you see that experience, the whole thing, just zoom out of that situation and look at it as a whole experience. You see it from Adbhuta. Wow, I would have never learned about relationships if I didn't have this experience with this human being who has taught me so much about myself. So it's a win-win. You are learning life lessons when something goes pear-shaped. When something goes south, you're learning some serious life skills. And your body's getting prepared for the next challenge. However, if you choose to become a victim of that, then your body is not preparing for life, it's preparing itself for sickness. And that's how it works.
Thank you for sharing in these simple terms. My last question, Acharyaji, is would you be willing to share some hacks how to use the timeline to achieve our goals?
Niringa loves hacks. The hacks of the PhD hacker. Hacks. The one hack that I have here for you is practice. Without practice, you're not going to get any of these siddhis, nor are you going to master any of these emotions. You need practice. You need a coach. You need a mentor. You need a teacher. You need a guru. Someone to show you the way. You've showed up here, but you haven't had anyone to show you the way. How are you supposed to master this? Reach out to us and we'll guide you what is the practice that suits you best. If you're looking for Sharira Siddhi, join the Healing Warrior Tribe. If you're looking for Vag Siddhi, join the communication course from Chamundi Gurukulam. If you're looking for understanding all the 3 Siddhis, Vag Siddhi, Bhavishya Siddhi, and Sharira Siddhi, put yourself through the 64-day challenge and see whether you are actually able to complete this challenge. And if you're unable to complete this challenge, you will know where you are lagging behind, whether it's your communication, whether it's your Sharira, or whether it's your Bhavishya. And then we will be able to direct you within the programs of the Gurukulam to help you, because that is what we do. We are here in this yuga, in this time, to help you, to show you the way. We are a close community, and we built ourselves like warriors to be able to show you the way and guide you through this time.
Thank you, Acharyaji, for sharing all your knowledge and experience. This has been very valuable for me and hopefully for our viewers as well. We hope that you will implement this in your daily life. And of course, if you want to learn more, don't hesitate to come and learn with us.
Thank you, Neringa. Thank you for hosting us. If you like the content, please share, subscribe, and like. If you like to learn with us, please click the link below to see if you qualify. I invite you to the Healing Warrior Tribe. Thank you. I've been working day and night, hail or storm, rain or cold, sun or no sun. I've been working 4 years every single day, showing up to myself, just to know that if this body can prove it, so can anyone. Your body is ready. Are you ready? Come join the Healing Warrior Tribe. Om Namah Shivaya.